Hey everyone, this is Daryl from Roken.
Hey, and I'm Audrey from Roken.
Let's go over, we've got some topics today, and I hear you got some questions for me, so.
Yeah, let's kick it off.
Yep.
So, Daryl, tell me, why do some batteries cost $15 while others cost about 3 times more?
Well, there are many different variables or reasons why batteries can cost more. First of all, there can be what is the quality of the battery cell that they put in there. A lot of people don't know, like when we're getting the batteries and we put them in our vape pens and we're installed, we buy them from a battery factory, and the battery factories actually rate the batteries, whether it's A or B or C, and the best rating is A. And actually, there is no standardization for rating batteries, right? So each factory rates their batteries themselves based on how many times they can be recharged and how good they hold their charge, right? So we go in and we make our batteries from one of the top battery manufacturers, and we also always get the top quality batteries, right? So that's why sometimes some of the stuff can be more expensive, right? But there are also other factors like what type of features do they offer? Does the battery also have a microchip? Some of the cheap batteries today will not even have a microchip. They might just have a pressure sensor and a battery. And then when it happens, it's just activating and pulling the nominal voltage off the battery, which is 3.7 volts. But then what it comes down to is the batteries that are more expensive, they might have a lot more different features, whether it could be precision temperature control, concealing the battery inside, a puff counter, a draw counter, battery life indicator, digital screen, adjustable airflow, many different things that can go into these factors that you have to decide which battery is right for you to kind of answer those questions. I personally would say is always buy a battery from a manufacturer that's known for good quality battery cells, because in reality, when you're buying that really cheap battery, it might only recharge 3 times, and you might buy a really good battery and it will recharge 300 times. So even if you're paying twice as much for that better battery that charges 300 times versus the one that charges 3 times, you're getting a lot more bang for your buck.
So let's run down what is a vape pen. What would be considered a vape pen?
Well, that's a good question, because there's a lot of variety of vape pens, right? Because there's a lot of variety of materials out there. Roken here, we primarily make vape pens for cannabis extracts, right? But, as we see today, a lot of people are vaping nicotine, right? That's not what we do at Roken, but that is a vape pen too. And of course, none of the products that we make do we ever recommend putting a nicotine juice in there, as it does not work in our devices. But there's a nicotine vape, right? That could be disposable or refillable. There's dry herb vapes, right? And there's a variation of how the different types of dry herb devices work. There's 510 carts that screw into a 510 battery, like what I'm holding right here. And there are, as you see, a variety of 510 batteries that we make that fit into many different styles of battery, right? And there are disposable vapes for cannabis, for hemp. So,
So lots of things that could count as a vape pen.
So I would say, is in the very simplest form, it's taking the solution that's inside and it's turning into a vapor, right? Not a smoke, but a vapor.
So how would you choose the right vape pen? Like, what are some suggestions you have to help get us narrowed down to something?
Well, I think you first of all always have to go, what am I using the vape? What am I vaping? That's the first thing, right? So once you've determined whether you're vaping, dry herb and say a dry herb device like our Outrider here, or you're going to buy a cart at the dispensary, so therefore you're going to need a battery that the cart fits into, maybe something like this Mini Tank Pro that protects the cart. Or you're going to go to a more simplified stick battery for your cart. Or maybe you bought a disposable at the dispensary, and that's what you do. And as you know, Roken makes plenty of different disposables for other brands on the market as well. So I think first of all, the right thing to do is, first of all, what am I vaping is the most important thing. And then figuring out what type of features do I want, what type of experience I want on my vape. And then we can drive it from there, because there's certainly a lot of choices.
Absolutely. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. Do you have like a first step?
My first step is for you to determine
that
what
totally
you're
was,
you're vaping.
I meant to go in a different direction with that. So once you have your material that you're deciding, how do I know what 510 vape is best for the cartridge I'm using?
Okay, well, that's a good question, right? So a lot of people ask, okay, well, first of all, we got to determine, now we've determined you're going to buy a cart, right? Now we have to determine, is that cart distillate? Is that cart live resin? Is it cured resin? Or is it rosin, cured rosin, or live rosin, right? So essentially, like the way I like to think of it is like the rosin, the live resin, are you going to use a lower temp, right? So my personal favorite is when I'm using a cart and it's, the cart might be more than the battery. It could be 3-4 times more than the battery, right? So to me, it's silly to use a really cheap battery on a real expensive cart because then you're not getting that experience.
Absolutely.
So I prefer with my rosin or my live resin, precision temperature control, which we have in a variety of different batteries here to offer. A lot of times precision control is best on a digital battery.
So Daryl, now that I've narrowed down my choices on vapes, right? How do I know that vape is for me? What else do I need to know about it?
Well, you would want to know like something about like, well, first of all, what's included in the kit that you're buying, right? Do they include a charging cable? Do you have to provide your own cable? Does it plug into micro USB-C? Does it plug into to USB port? These are different things because obviously we all have different ports, right? And then what else you'd want to know is does it work for the functions that you want? And what I mean by that is, let's say you buy live resin. Well, you might not want to buy a battery that has only a temperature of 3.6 volts if you're buying live resin. You might want to get down to, say, 2.7 volts or even a little bit lower. So there's also the issue, do you live in a warm climate or a cold climate, right? Because let's say you live in a cold climate, you want to make sure your battery has a preheat, right? And then there's the other issue is like, how big of a battery do you want? A smaller battery is nice and discreet, easier to hold. A larger life of a battery is going to be a little bit bigger. Look at the two batteries I have right here. This one right here is 400 mAh. This one is 650 with a screen. So we kind of see there's a bigger difference in the size, right? So, and I also think, and then you got to figure out like, do you want it auto draw or button activated? Or maybe you want the choice to have both. As you know, Roken, we make a lot of them at both. Or are you like me and like you drop things, and then because you drop things, you need to have the cart protected, right? And they say, why is that important? Well, these carts today, a lot of them are made of glass. So if you're to drop that on a cement surface or something, you're going to break it. And now your $50 or $60 you spent on your cart is out the window. So I think these are things you have to do. Also, you need to ask from a company is like, do you have a warranty, right?
That's huge.
That's a big thing. Like Roken, we warranty all our vapes for 12 months, right? Some other companies might only warranty them for 3 months. Some companies might not offer a warranty at all, which I would caution any user who's using these batteries, if they don't offer a warranty at all, I would be a little bit more cautious of that brand.
Absolutely. Definitely want to have good aftercare because, if we're trusting to make that purchase, I want to make sure that I'm covered just in case something goes wrong.
That's a good question. Do the companies have tech support? Is there somebody you can call or email? At Roken, we're available by phone Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Pacific Standard Time. And then we're also available to contact through our support email, which is support@rokenvapes.com. So we're here, we answer your questions, make sure we help you on the way.
Absolutely. You can also hit us up on our Instagram at Roken Vapes. We're definitely more than happy to help anyone who needs help with our products.
Yeah, and I think that's an important factor for somebody to consider when they're buying a new vape battery, right?
Absolutely. So Daryl, budget versus premium, how do you tell the difference?
Well, really here I would say is that, Roken has some budget batteries, but in reality, they're the same quality as your premium batteries. What simply sets the difference between our budget and premium vapes is really the amount of functions that they have, right? So our batteries, we start off with our simplest battery, which is the Quick Draw, all the way up to our most expensive 510 battery, which is the Bar Pro, right? And the difference between all these batteries is really the amount of functions that we're giving you. They're all using grade A batteries, right? So they're all going to last a long time. but do you want precision control? Maybe just a few temps. Do you need to conceal your battery or not? Do you want a puff counter, a draw counter type of features, adjustable airflow? These are things that you have to ask that as our vapes in our line are getting more expensive, they're always getting you more features or and also a larger battery.
Roken definitely has the variety to either or, right?
Yeah.
Like if you want something budget friendly or if you want something premium.
And what I would say is that like here is we have premium batteries at a budget price.
So Daryl, how do you spot a good battery versus a not good battery?
You know, that's a question a lot of people ask, and really that's a hard one to do, right? Because a lot of times the batteries, it's not like we're opening them up and checking out the battery cell on the inside or the microchip, which really has a lot to do because the outer part of the outer part is just a casing, right? And so whether it's made of metal or it's made of plastic, the inside is really what makes the difference, right? It's those guts inside there.
Yeah, what's under the hood?
So what I would think is a good gauge to whether the battery is a quality battery is how much does that manufacturer stand behind their products, right? Like Roken, we give it a 12-month warranty because we know our products are going to hold up. But if you see somebody else and they only offer, maybe a 90-day warranty, they might not expect that battery to last 12 months. That's a pretty good indicator that they're not expecting the same life of the battery. So I would go in, the reputation of the battery manufacturer and the warranty that they offer, let that drive it. I mean, if it's not a brand name, or it's not made by a brand name, then, I would be a little bit more skeptical. And the reason I say that is that Roken products, we sell a Roken, but we also make them for like 200 other brands. And we usually put our brand name there somewhere on the box to let the customer know that this is a good quality product.
All right, Daryl. So once I've got my trusty vape, I'm into it, I got my cart set up, how do I get the longest life out of it?
Well, that's a good question, right? So there's a lot of different factors that can affect your vape pen. Like, let's not leave it in our car on a hot day or on a cold day. Temperature can affect our vape pens, right? Whether it's too hot or too cold. First of all, when it's really hot, you're going to find your vape pen and go, oh, it leaked all over the place. Because when it got to 140 degrees in your car, it caused the liquid in that vape pen to be really liquidy. And the atomizer is not meant to hold a liquid. It's meant to hold a thicker liquid, like almost like a gel. So that's one problem, right? When you put it in a cold too long, it affects the life of the cell on the battery. So cold batteries also don't hold their power as long, so they die really quick. And then the other thing, the most common reason a battery stops working for somebody is because the connection point gets dirty.
I've been guilty of that before.
Right? So you say, like, my battery's broken, it doesn't work. And then you come in and we take a Q-tip with some isopropylene alcohol and we clean it up so it's nice and shiny. And then all of a sudden, voila, your vape pen is back to working, right? And what most people don't realize, especially when you're using carts today, is that they all tend to leak just a touch sometimes. You're leaving them in there it can be sometimes even a much that the naked eye doesn't even see it. It can leave a thin coating of film across the top of the battery. So coat this little pin right here on the top, and that's enough to make it stop. The same thing happens with your car battery over time. If you're not cleaning those terminals when you have to switch that battery, it doesn't work. So the key to the life of the battery is keeping it in a good place in your house, keeping it charged. You don't want to take a battery, use all the power away, and then put it in a drawer and leave it be for a month. That's not good either. The battery needs to maintain a certain amount of power that you've got to leave in there. And then the other key is to keeping the connection points clean. If you follow those steps, then the battery will last for years.
Those are some good tips. So, Daryl, what do you suggest? Online buying, direct from you, or in a shop?
Really on that one, I would say is that in-store allows you to get direct advice from the store workers right there, right on the spot. You get to ask questions. You might be able to feel the devices and learn a lot about in person what you're learning to buy, right? So there is always an advantage of going into the store and dealing directly with a person. Online, on the other hand, hey, people think, hey, I might get a great price online. I tend to say that today that there's not too much difference between the price online and the price that you pay in a store anymore. The stores have become quite competitive to online. But online, there's an air of convenience. You didn't have to get off your couch. You ordered it. You might not get it that same day. It might take a few days. You get it. And then you kind of have to be online a little bit more educated yourself in what you're buying. So I would say online buying is for more of an experienced vapor who knows what they're looking for. And if you're a beginner and stuff, I highly recommend going to a store and asking some advice of your local smoke shop or your local dispensary.
So Daryl, we get this question a lot in-house. Can a battery cause a cart to leak?
Correct. And yeah, we've heard that a lot, but no, it doesn't. The internals in the cart that are causing it to leak are essentially all in the cart. So it's the seal, it's the atomizer that is causing it to leak. Or it could be the fact that you let your cart warm up too much and the liquid in there got too runny. And therefore the seal is meant to keep a thick liquid inside, but now you've caused that liquid to be all runny, so it's going to run out like water. But no, the battery is not making the cart leak. It simply is providing power to the atomizer inside the cart. No more.